update your stock projects. And let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the COVID economy now that it's starting to, its effects are really starting to be felt. I think J.Crew going bankrupt yesterday is an important check mark in the history of the economic rollout of COVID, because it's not like they went out of business just because of that. That's just kind of like they've been having trouble for 4 or 5 years now, both with the type of clothes they make, the price points they sell clothes at. Like they were having sales so often that nobody was buying clothes full price, because everybody knew that if you would just hang out for a week or two, that shirt you were looking at would go on 60% sale. But the stuff going on with COVID, the shutdown in the economy, and the fact that they were trying to sell off Madewell and they weren't able to, it got canceled because of this COVID stuff. It was kind of the last nail in the coffin that pushed them into bankruptcy. Similarly, a lot of other companies are having big movements because of the stuff going on with COVID, or at least adjacent to that. And also, top disclaimer, none of the information that you're about to receive is investing information or advice. This is all just general information to stay apprised of what's going on and to work on our completely theoretical stock project. I am not a financial advisor. What I want y'all to do is I want you to look at these two companies' stocks over these timescales. So go to whatever stock viewer you're looking at. Look up the money on Wayfair, and then look up the money on Lime Scooters. And if you don't know what those companies are or what they do, maybe also Google them up a bit, look at their websites. And then we'll talk about why those two companies have had that type of movement in recent time. And then item number 2, use that debt calculator to calculate out which one of these two student loans would be more expensive, an $18,000 subsidized loan or a $16,000 unsubsidized loan. And then once you figure out what the lifetime cost difference is, what's the difference? So which one of these is more expensive, and by how much is it more expensive? And then today I just want to talk a little bit about bank accounts, because I realized I've been talking about bank accounts a lot, but maybe we never broke it down. We talked a little bit about credit card debt, but I don't think we talked about savings or checking and what the difference is between the two. I'm sure you guys have some idea, but I just want to codify that down for those of y'all who don't have a strong handle on that yet. And then we will basically be done. So in terms of assignments that I need from y'all for this class, there's only 2 homework assignments left. So there's the mortgage homework, which I notice a lot of y'all haven't started. I know that AP tests are coming up, but I still need that one in. And then after that, I won't have any additional homework for you past one last assignment. The last assignment I'm going to give you is going to be an assignment where I ask you guys to answer some questions with the student loan math. I'm going to invent some scenarios and ask y'all to calculate the over-under on the student loans that people would have to pay back in order to obtain the educations that I'm going to lay out in those scenarios. It'll take a little bit of research, mostly cost of living. I'm going to propose some colleges, and then you'll have to go on to Zillow and figure out what rent is in those cities, all that fun stuff. But just like the mortgage homework, where it's kind of broken up into a recipe and you just follow it piece by piece, one bit at a time, just so that y'all can practice your financial estimation stuff. That will be the last homework that I'm taking. And then past that, the only other grade that'll go in is the final stock project and the calculus final. Is that okay? Are there any questions there with that stuff?
No.
Okay. Let me send a text
Mr. Rob,
message real quick, and then we'll get started. Yes?
are you going to put in the finals?
Yeah, so I definitely am. Even though you guys got that email that said that there would be no finals for seniors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm definitely going to do it because I think it helps literally everybody's grade by a lot, and we already took it, so I'm not going to just let that float away. However, what I don't know is exactly how to do it, because if they make a grade category for me that says finals, then it's easy. Then I just put it in, factor it in, and we're good to go. But if they literally delete that from Teacher Ease for the seniors, then I'm going to have to get creative with the math. What I would have to do to make it 20% of your grade is I would have to put it into your quarter grade and make it amazingly, overwhelmingly heavy. The equivalent thing that I would have to do to make it worth the correct amount, I'd have to go in and I'd have to look at all the point values. I think I would have to put in a test which was worth thousands of points.
Oh, wow.
I would reverse engineer it to make sure that it counted as 20% of your final grade the way that it should on the final. But to put that into the normal grade book and have it work out that way, I would have to make a single assignment which was worth thousands of points on its own. I will let you know. We have a teachers meeting today, so I was going to ask about that this afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you set, when you guys do your research, look at Wayfair 6 months. The 1 month graph won't show you the feature that I want it to show you. And you know what? If you can find a graph of Lime scooters 3 months, that would also work. But again, let's go ahead and set that to 6 months so that it's easier to see. So let's go ahead and start for today. So item number 1 here, update those stocks. Any interesting movements in your guys' portfolios and your projects? Anything up or down, crazy amount? No, mostly level. Let me get a quick informal poll then. Chime in if you're up from yesterday.
Me.
Yeah. Is anybody down from yesterday?
I'm up.
Yeah, being up should be pretty typical right now because the stock
I'm down.
market in total increased yesterday. So if you're down, I would take a look at what it is that you're holding. So yeah, let me go ahead and talk about these two. So did y'all see what I wanted you to see with Wayfair? What did you notice about Wayfair? Wayfair? Wayfair over the last 6 months. What do you notice about it?
It was pretty steady and then it dropped and then it shot up.
Yeah, so notice that day where it dropped. What was that minimum price?
$24, $24.92.
Yeah, and that's on March 18th, which is when the coronavirus stuff started getting real for the world, right? And then ever since then, it's been blowing up, blowing up, blowing up. And then what is it at today?
178.05. Wow.
Yeah, so that is to say that they went from $25 to $175. So this one's a big bet. If you were to have invested in them on March 18th, right, when we were all told that, hey, we're going to start having school from home, and you sold all of that off today, whatever amount of money you put in would have been multiplied by a full factor of 7. Wayfair is the kind of big bet that, like, if I was a smarter person, if I was doing this stuff and thinking about it full time, God, that would have been such an awesome opportunity to realize and like jump on, you know, turn $1,000 into $7,000, turn $10,000 into $70,000. Of course, this is all gambling, right? Like it's impossible to make these predictions in advance, but this is a big bet. And I think there's a good lesson here to learn about types of businesses that are going to expand during the COVID economy. So that's just the stock movement. Let me show you guys the actual chart. So, you know, here they were March 18th when we were told to all go home, 25 bucks a pop. And today they're selling off stocks at 175 bucks a pop. What does Wayfair do? Like, do you guys listen to podcasts? Do you ever get their ads?
I've heard of them and like I've seen their ads, but I don't really know what they do.
Oh, straight up. Wayfair is a furniture store, except it's all online. So if I make the mistake of going to wayfair.com, no thanks. Yeah, it's literally just a furniture store, except they don't make any of this furniture. So this isn't IKEA where IKEA's making it and they're selling it to you. They purchase furniture from producers. They sell it directly to people at home. And Wayfair stuff, some of it is like assemble on your own. So this desk is probably, it comes flat packed and then you have to build it. But they also have higher end furniture, which actually has wooden construction, like real wood, and upholstery. So like our entire dining set downstairs is from Wayfair. It was cheap, it came well packaged, and it was really nice. So why would purchasing furniture from home be blowing up in the COVID economy?
People are probably trying to like fix up their houses now that they're just sitting in it all day.
Now that you live at home, right? If you were looking at that junky old couch, you're probably like, hey, if we're going to be sitting on this couch 8 hours a day, might as well double down on a new couch. Why else would this be blowing up right now?
If it's like build your own stuff, people are just trying to like have something to do. I don't know.
I think I got it.
wouldn't say it's that, but it being built at home makes it cheaper. So that's the other big thing. Not only is this new furniture that you can get delivered to your house by the UPS guy who's already overworked, but on top of that, this is actually really cheap compared to your regular furniture store. I had another comment. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Is it because I think a lot of students that are like moving into apartments and stuff?
I like that as a guess. That's actually probably a thing to look out for because just like how when I told you guys about my like little kid stock investing experience where I invested in Hershey's right before Halloween and I was like, we made fake money. Yeah, no, there's seasonal stuff that you can look out for. Like, yo, people buy and sell Mattel around Christmas because like right before that Christmas boom, you know that it's going to go up over the holiday season. So some people buy it with the seasons. Summer is definitely a time when a lot of people are moving. Kids are moving to new schools, people are moving to new jobs. Most like house transitions happen over the course of the summer. And so a bunch of furniture purchases happen over the end of the summer, beginning of fall as well. Those are industries that you want to look at seasonally, boom and bust.
Yeah.
There's one other reason why Wayfair is blowing up. How do you normally buy furniture?
At the store?
Yeah, you like go to a place, right? And you check it out. You like go to IKEA and you take 8 hours to wander through their nightmare hell maze. And then you come out on the other side with a plate of meatballs and like a bunch of furniture that you didn't need. All of those places are closed. So on top of that, on top of Wayfair being like a solution to a problem that a lot of people have, like, hey, I'm stuck at home for forever. I want new stuff. I want stuff that's cheap. And I can't physically go to a furniture store right now. If I was a smarter person, it should have been pretty obvious that this would blow up over the last few months. That was an interesting one. And then what did y'all see when you looked up, well, do you guys know what the Lime scooters are? Do you guys know what that stuff is?
No.
You guys know Bird scooters?
No.
Really? I mean, I guess it's because you guys live in the suburbs, but give me 1 second to take attendance. I don't want to turn this one in too late. They are these electric scooters that you unlock with an app on your phone.
Oh yeah, they leave it in the middle of the street.
Yeah. I mean, don't do that. That's sucky. But I've definitely like been on a run through my neighborhood. There's a whole bunch up in Silver Lake, and I've definitely seen like a row of them. And then let's just say a dude who was not in his right mind came along and just like thrashed all of them as I was running by. He just like was bashing them into each other, threw a bunch of them into the street. Yeah, they're constantly getting vandalized. I think it's a crazy business. But more or less, man, the notion about Lime scooters is really similar to Uber. You need transportation right now. You don't have a car. And so instead of taking public transportation, you're going to choose some private option that you can access through an app. Instead of summoning a car that comes to you, you open the app. It'll tell you where the closest scooter is. And then you walk over to it with your phone. Unlocking it with your phone charges your credit card. And then you can ride the scooter until your account runs out of money.
No, I didn't mean like throwing it in the middle of the street. Like, don't you, like, after you're done using it, you leave it somewhere and the next person that sees it can just pick it up?
So you're supposed to leave it on the sidewalk or in like designated areas, but I've
Yeah.
literally seen people throw them into the street and then cars like run them over because there are some people who like hate this entire business idea and industry and will just destroy the hell out of these.
Wow.
The other weird thing that you can do, and I don't know if this stuff still works anymore, but in the early days of these scooters being new, you could make money by charging them. So they're electric scooters, they have to be charged up. And one thing you could do with the app is instead of using the app to unlock the scooters, you could use the app to locate ones with dead batteries. You could go pick up all the ones with dead batteries and charge the batteries. And in exchange for recharging the batteries on these scooters, it would give your account credit. So if you were willing to drive around, pick these up, plug them all in your garage, charge them all, you could then use that credit to ride the same scooters around for free. I don't know, man. This whole thing is crazy to me. It doesn't make sense. But nonetheless, Lime scooters and a whole bunch of these other weird scooter companies, because there's also a million competitors. There's also Bird. All of these are like tech industry startup nonsense where they're just like, let's just make a bunch of scooters and leave them out and somehow this will make money. Turns out all of these business models are losing a bunch of money. And as a result, Lime scooters and their valuation has gone crazy. People thought it was going to blow up and be big, but it turns out these types of projects are actually just like setting money on fire and throwing it in the dumpster. So if you look at what they were doing over the last 6 months, you have growth, and then the COVID economy hits and it turns out nobody wants to put their hands on a filthy scooter, right? You're like, yo, what if somebody coughed on this scooter? So they lost all of their money and now they're growing again. Here's why. They got purchased. Uber showed up and purchased a whole bunch of their money. So now Lime scooters are accessible through the Uber app. Like one company is in the act of eating each other. And now their stock is on the climb because they are part of the Uber family, or at least they're going to be very soon. The reason why I bring up this example is that when acquisitions happen, typically that has a positive effect on the entity which is being acquired. It suddenly becomes a good investment because for people who own a bunch of Lime, the goal here is that Uber will do a stock buyback. So if you're purchasing Lime, you're like, okay, I'm going to hold this because I know that Uber is going to want to purchase this stock from me in a few months. So if I get in now, maybe by the time that Uber is purchasing this up, right, they'll be able to cash you out for really good money, maybe, if you're lucky. So if you bought on this day, people saw this coming. They bought when Lime was low, and they're going to hope that these shares of Lime that they bought for 123 will go for like 300 or 400 in about a year when Uber tries to acquire Lime outright. Is this okay? Does it feel like we're learning stuff? Are there any questions out there about these two news items? Okay, so item 2, which one of these two student loan structures is more expensive? Borrowing $18,000 subsidized or borrowing $16,000 unsubsidized? Which one is more expensive in total, or how could we figure it out? Oop, not that. Though that is very cute. I could talk about that too. I wanted this link. Let's go ahead and calculate what the total payback would be on these two student loans. So if you borrow $18,000 subsidized, what's the interest rate on a subsidized loan? Approximately, it's always changing, but what's a good number to hold in your head for a subsidized loan? The government's going to pay half the interest. So how much interest are you paying? Hello?
The other half.
Right, and how much interest is typically on a student loan? We've talked about it the last 2 days in lecture, assuming people were listening. What's a reasonable number on a student loan?
Like 4%.
3.98%.
That's very correct and technical, but usually you could just like estimate it. To be honest with you, like weird fees that you incur on loans over the lifetime, or like weird tax situations or whatever, make it so that a tiny fluctuation isn't going to throw your estimate too far off. So in terms of this subsidized loan, we could just say it's about 2, even though it's probably technically like 1.98. And so student loans are normally paid back over 30 years. If you have the cash on hand, you can pay them off quicker. And the quicker you pay them off, the cheaper it is, which is why I have a bunch of cash right now. I'm going to try and slap my student loans out of existence this summer once I have enough to drown them. But if you were to pay them back at minimum payments, here's the maximum value that this $18,000 loan will cost you. So over the course of this loan, you'll pay about $5,008. Wait, did I put in the wrong number? Yeah, okay, yeah. Over the lifetime of this loan, you'll pay about $5,890 in interest. And so the total payback on $18,000 borrowed is going to be the sum of these two numbers. And so in total for the subsidized loan, you end up paying back $23,919. Now let's go ahead and go back and take a look at what happens if we borrow $16,000 unsubsidized, which is to say at a 4% interest rate. And so the interest that you're going to pay at 4% is $11,630. And so in total, you end up paying back unsubsidized, you end up paying back $27,664. So even though you're borrowing less money, in the long run, it's going to cost you more money because of the difference in the interest rate. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty basic stuff. I just want y'all to have that stuff in mind. So remember when you get your FAFSA, when you do your FAFSA and then you get your financial offer back from your college, that is the primary difference between the portion of the loans offered you that are subsidized versus unsubsidized. The subsidized ones, the government pays part of the interest so that you don't have to, and as a result, they accrue very little interest over the course of their loans. And when it comes to unsubsidized loans on those, you are paying the full interest rate. This is why, like now that I'm in payback, guess which loans I pay back first? Like I rank them, right? And so I've been paying back a certain type of loan first, and I've been procrastinating on paying back the other loans. Guess what order I pay the loans back in?
Unsubsidized.
You cut out.
Yeah.
Could you say that again? You cut out for a second.
Unsubsidized loans and then subsidized loans.
Yeah, and even more detail than that, like this actually makes a gross simplification of the actual situation. In reality, as soon as you graduate, they're going to take the loans that they gave you and they're going to fall apart into a bunch of little loans. So like all of my unsubsidized loans after I graduated, they got sold to other banks. And instead of it being one loan, it got repackaged as like 8 different loans. So some of them had interest rates as high as 6.5. Some of them had interest rates as low as like 1.5. But despite the principal on each one of them, I am paying them back in order of highest interest rate first. So I killed all of the 6% loans with the money I had before I went to grad school. And now I'm working on the 4% loans, and pretty soon they'll all be gone. Hot pro tips from somebody who was once drowning in student loan debt. Anyway, today we're going to just talk really quick, super short, on the basic types of bank accounts that most people have. So, types of bank accounts. And then I will do nothing for the remainder of the time. And if you want to like get started on that mortgage homework and ask me questions while you guys have me on Zoom or whatever, that's probably the smartest use of your time in the second half. So real quick, types of common accounts. And so when it comes to accounts, typically there are three basic type of bank accounts. The three basic types of bank accounts, one we've talked about already is credit. And then the second typical kind is debit. And you know, okay, yeah, I'm not crazy. It is just DEBT, but every time I write that, it looks weird because there's a B and a T next to each other with no vowel in the middle. And then past that are various types of savings accounts. So first off, what's the deal? What's a debit account? We'll start here.
You put money in it and then you can use it until it runs out.
Yeah, that's basically it. So a debit account is more or less the same thing as having a bunch of cash in your wallet. It's just that, you know, if you get mugged or whatever, if you have a bunch of cash in your wallet, it's gone. But if you get mugged with a debit card in your wallet, your debit card might be gone, but they can't take the cash that's associated with it unless they have your PIN number. So a debit account takes cash deposits, and then out of your debit account, money goes out by debit card or by check. So if you're writing a check, that is typically associated with your debit account. And because this is your cash, it is very, very important that you protect the information regarding your debit account. Try not to leave loose checks floating out there in the world. A lot of damage can be done by somebody who has a check and one other piece of your personal information. Like, it's typically enough data to hijack somebody's identity if you have their checking account numbers along with their address, birthday, and social security number. Like, if you had that set of information attached to a real person's name, you could do real damage to their financial situation. Make sure that you keep intimate control of your checks and, of course, your PIN number. The other thing about debit accounts is, guess how much interest is on them?
0.
No.
Normally 0% interest, which is to say that, like, they're not earning money for you, but they're also not losing money for you. They're not making purchases more expensive. But a big thing to beware of is beware overdraft, which is one of the most annoying freaking things possible in a checking account, man. If you get an overdraft charge, it's because you attempt to remove more money from your account than was in the account. Or because a check was written and that check bounced, which is to say you write a $500 check, the person goes to cash it, and it turns out there's only $300 in your checking account. That's really bad. So when you hit an overdraft, it is heinous on your credit score. You instantly lose a few points that take a long time to recover. Combined with the fact that you usually get a penalty assessed against your account, which is insane to me, right? It's them saying like, hey, we noticed you have $0. Guess what? You now have negative $25 because we don't like the fact that you hit that overdraft. They will literally fine you for not having enough money. So make sure that you don't overextend your debit account, right? It's a really bad thing to happen, and it's an easy mistake to avoid. Just be aware of how much money is in your debit account, like have your banking app on your phone, check it occasionally. And the best advice, honestly, is just make sure that you have a chunk of cash sitting in the bottom of your checking account, just in case. Always have a couple $100s of cushion in there if you can afford it, to make sure that if you have to use your debit card, that, you know, it has the funds on it to keep you safe. And then the credit account we've already talked about. The credit account is you borrowing money from the bank. So you borrow small amounts from the bank. And these have large APRs typically, especially when you're starting off. So you borrow small amounts from the bank. If you get your repayment in 1 month or less, typically you pay no interest on it because the interest is assessed monthly. So as long as you pay off a purchase made on it within that first month, then there's no interest to be assessed. So all of my purchases, I filter through my credit card. I purchase everything on the credit card. I never purchase anything on the debit card. And then I just make sure to pay it off immediately. This has two functions. Number one, it protects my debit card information from getting out there into the world. And number two, it allows you to amass rewards points on your credit card while not actually paying any interest to your bank. So my bank probably dislikes the way that I utilize my credit card. And as a result of that behavior, it's not good for my credit score. It doesn't matter for me though, because I'm not planning on using my credit score to purchase anything in a long while. Like I'm not buying a house anytime soon. So I'm not really worried about my credit score. Behaving this way with a credit card doesn't like ruin your credit score, but it stops it from increasing. Typically, these have a large APR. So you want to avoid using them. And you just want to have that as your real like emergency fund source in case you suddenly need to make a giant purchase, either for a medical reason or like you're on a road trip and your car has an emergency and suddenly you need some huge repair. That's why it's important to increase your line of credit yearly when given the opportunity. Increasing your line of credit will also grow your credit score over time, making it possible to purchase your first home as early as possible. Finally is the savings account. And this is like one of the more complicated ones. And I was dumb. I like didn't leave myself enough space. So I'm going to move on to the next page. So about your savings. What do y'all know about savings accounts?
You just keep money in it, don't touch it, and then like there's interest, so it grows slowly. I don't know.
That is perfectly correct, yeah. So here where we have a large APR, I'm just gonna go ahead and say that this is some large negative percentage because it's money counting against you, right? The money that you are owing is getting bigger and bigger. Credit cards also offer rewards points, I'll note that. But yeah, your description of a savings account is spot on. So it is your cash, right? It takes cash deposits. And it grows them over time. This has a very small APR, sadly, because of course the interest that counts against us is huge, while the interest that counts for us is small. I wonder why that is, right? But at least it is a small positive percentage. Now, I bet your question would be like, well, why is it that you wouldn't just keep all your money in a savings account as opposed to a debit account, right? That's because typically on these, there is a minimum limit. So typically you cannot start a savings account unless you have a minimum amount of money to put in the account in the first place. They also have transfer limits and delays. So you wouldn't want to use the money in your savings account for an emergency, because if you needed that money right now, you might have to wait as long as 48 hours before you can get it out. And a lot of savings accounts close if they go below a certain amount. Some of them even require you to have like a minimum of $25,000 cash in the account just for the bank to offer the account to you in the first place. So if you have cash that you're not using and you aren't a gambler, right? Because investing in the stock market is very, very risky. This is a relatively safe way to invest your account, but in exchange, the interest rates they offer are junk, man. They're not the best. Chase Bank, and typically the bigger the bank, right, if they're not specifically a financial institution, the interest rates they offer are poor. Like, yo, man, Chase savings accounts are between 0.1% and 0.2%. It's nothing. They're offering you almost nothing on your account. Some of the better savings accounts that you can get require larger down payments, but I'm sure you guys have heard the company name Goldman Sachs. The reason why they're as popular as they are is that they offer one of the highest savings accounts rates in the world, as high as 1.55%. So you leave that in there and it makes 1.55% annually, compounding monthly. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah. And then of course, like if you were keeping money in a savings account to, let's say this is where you're keeping your money for your house down payment, like you're trying to save up enough money to purchase your first home, then you would keep that money in a savings account because you got that nice big chunk, right? It's making good interest every year. So if you have that Goldman Sachs account and you were keeping your house down payment in there, right? Let's say you're trying to get to 300,000, you're at 200,000. In 1 year, you would make about $300 of interest just by leaving your account or your money in that account. And it would actually be a little bit more than that because it's compounding monthly. So just by letting your housing down payment chill in a savings account, you make the equivalent money of a video game console every year for doing nothing. And again, if you were trying to save up that money to purchase your first home, leaving it in a savings account is probably safer than leaving it in the stock market, because while it could make more money in the stock market theoretically, it could also just like disappear overnight in case you made the mistake of, I don't know, owning 200,000 shares of J.Crew and then they declare bankruptcy and now you're busted, right? With a savings account, it's insured by the bank. As long as the bank exists, so does your money. And past this, if I was you and you were looking at significant amounts of money to save, I would look at other savings options. There are plenty of other savings options out there. And typically, the more restrictive they are in terms of when you can and can't take out your money, the more interest they tend to make. So other savings options would be a CD account, known as a cash deposit account, and also a 401k, which is a retirement account. So for both of these, you can't actually take your money out without hitting a whole bunch of penalties and limitations. Taking money out of a 401k is really, really ugly. But both of these, CDs and 401ks, so long as the stock market is doing good, these have guaranteed returns of specific APRs, and they're always better offers than regular old savings accounts. But like I said, they are highly restrictive in terms of when you can and can't withdraw your money. Typically, the 401k, you can't touch until you retire. So you put in money in your 20s and you can't touch it until you're in your 40s. But this boy is more or less guaranteed to multiply the amount of money that you put in. CD, you can take money out of, but the delays on it are huge. So yeah, credit account, you're borrowing money. If you fail to pay it off, you owe the bank a large percentage. Debit is the same as holding cash in a bucket, except that bucket is secured digitally so that you don't have to carry all that cash around in your pocket. Make sure not to hit that overdraft, otherwise you get penalized. You have zero money? Well, oh, guess what? We're going to charge you more money to punish you for having zero money. And then on savings accounts, they grow very slowly. Most banks offer junk interest rates. So if you are going to get a savings account, do some research, look for the highest interest return that you can. Yeah. The one other thing that I want to talk about real quick, and again, this is not an advertisement of a product. This is just kind of something I want y'all to be aware of, because if this is happening now, then those changes will continue. And by the time you guys have like real big money to play with, I think the financial market will look a little bit different. Yo, man, there's a debit card that's offering an interest rate. Robinhood has a debit card. And it's really weird to me that this is even possible. But the Robinhood debit card makes interest on it like a savings account. Also, I know that this is dumb and it's totally aesthetic. It comes in 4 colors and I think the designs are really good. The American flag one really makes me think of like Mr. Emery. Like, I haven't talked to that dude since he moved out to Utah, but I can basically guarantee that he's on the wait list for that American flag one. Right, that seems like him. You know what I'm saying? I myself am on the waiting list for the black one just because I think it looks nice. But it's really wild, man. The Robinhood debit account acts as a debit account, but it makes 1.3% APR. So it's kind of like a debit account and a savings account at the same time. Of course, it has additional limitations on it because it's making interest, and the wait list for it is huge. I think it's like an 8-month wait list right now, but I'm hoping in 8 months I'll be getting my like black debit card in the mail, making interest on the cash that I hold. Did y'all know about this?
No.
Yeah, it's tight. It seems like a really good product. I'll like let you know how it goes. Or even funnier, I'll put all my money into a Robinhood bank account and then they'll go out of business and I'll lose my entire checking. It'll be great.
Wait, Mr. Rob.
Yeah.
So is it a good thing that this debit card has APR on it?
Yeah, it grows your money.
Oh, like increases your money.
Yeah, it's not interest like a credit card. It's
Oh, you
it's
don't have to
interest
pay
like
it
a
off?
savings account.
Oh, okay, cool.
No. A debit card is your cash. If you have $400 in a debit account, you could go to the bank and get that $400 of cash out right now. If you have $400 on a credit card, that means you owe $400 to the bank.
Yeah. Okay, got you.
Yeah, so if you have money in your Robinhood checking account, if you have one of these cards, then it grows your money every month. And
That's pretty cool.
yeah, I don't think this shows any personal information. I don't think this is fine. When you sign up for it, because everybody wants this, because this is like a relatively new thing, a debit account having positive interest for you. I'm sharing this screen, right? Wait.
Robinhood debt.
Is it sharing my document cam?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because of how many people want the debit card, because being able to make good interest on a debit card is brand new to the financial market, you have to go on a wait list. It sucks. So right now I'm on the wait list. Yeah, this doesn't have any personal information. Yeah. And right now there's 800,000 people on the wait list and I'm at position 560,000. 16 people above me got new debit cards today, so I got moved up 16 spots. But when this number goes to 1, then I will finally get mailed a debit card that earns 0.3% APR. It seems cool. I hope it like works out. I hope I eventually get one in the mail. But I think this is a really potentially good product long term. Only a hard thing is that like now, you know how like banks charge oh, and I'm also watching a Bon Appetit video. Do you guys know freaking Android has picture-in-picture?
No.
You could be doing
Cool.
2 things at the same time. So up here in the top, I could give myself all the ADD by watching a man cook cookies while also checking my stock account. Picture-in-picture on Android is a pretty nifty thing. God, it's just commercials. Yeah, I just think it's wild. Do you guys know where this interest comes from? Like, how is it they are able to give you money back in your savings account, or in the case of Robinhood, on this very rare unicorn of a debit account where you make interest? Like, the money doesn't come from nowhere. The source of the money is investments. So you put $200,000 into a savings account, that $200,000 is not sitting still. What it's doing is the bank is taking your $200,000 and they are investing it on your behalf. They're either investing it in the stock market or on currency markets or on commodity markets. And then they are using the money that they earn from investing in order to grow your account. So if they're offering you 1.5%, it means that they're actually earning a lot more than that on the money that they're investing. And then they get to keep the difference in order to grow their company. Yeah, that's why it takes a few days to get your money back, because when you put that $200,000 into a savings account, like I said, it's not just sitting there, it's actually going out into the stock market and swirling around and making more money. And so when you ask for your deposit back on a savings account, you tell the bank, you're like, hey, I need to withdraw that $200,000, I'm trying to buy a house. They take 2 days because they actually need to sell off some of their own stuff. They need to sell their own stocks back out into the market so that they can give you the $200,000 cash. Does that make sense? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the way that Robinhood is making money on your debit account is the fact that it's not just sitting there, they're making interest on it, and then when you need the cash back, they're selling off assets to give you back your cash. Anyway, that's about it in terms of new information. I hope you find yourself to be a slightly more economically literate human being after listening to me talk about all of the different types of ways that people use mathematical equations to abuse and adjust money to make it work against you or make it work for you. it's in the numbers that these numbers are mostly designed to work against you. That's why credit card interest rates are so high and savings account interest rates are so low. But I want y'all to be able to take away from this is the ability to calculate your own fundamental finances. When in doubt, just Google the phrase that you are confused about along with the phrase calculator, and guaranteed you can find a resource out there, probably on a website called NerdWallet, that will help you answer your financial questions. Because even though the deck is stacked against you, if played correctly, there is a way to navigate through and earn money and purchase your own stuff. This is coming from somebody who's like about to turn 30, and I already have my first house, and I'm about to wrap up these student loans at the end of this year, and all that was done on a teacher's salary. Like, not like I'm some kind of genius. It was a little bit of luck and a lot of paying attention and learning stuff and avoiding bad products while finding good products. We have a few minutes left of class, so if you guys have any questions on that mortgage homework, if it was a confusing assignment, let me know. Or if I need to move the due date or whatever, let me know. Like I said, it's just that, and then one more homework that I'm going to cook up about your student loans that I want you guys to work on, and then we'll be done with the school year. Are there any questions on the homework, or have you guys just not started because you're doing other stuff?
I started it. It was pretty straightforward. I just haven't written the 400-word write-up at the end.
Oh, okay. All right. That's cool. It'll be pretty easy. And I think for most of y'all, part of the reaction that I want to get back is like how wacky these zip codes are. As I mentioned on there, I'm not having you guys look at normal zip codes. I found an article that was top 100 zip codes. Top 100 most expensive zip codes on average. So those houses that you're going to look at are wicked expensive. And I was alarmed to see how many of the top 100 lists are actually nearby. A bunch of them are LA neighborhoods. Like one of them was Santa Monica. One of them was Century City. I had no idea Century City ownership was so expensive. I guess that makes sense. That's why all my homies who live out there live in like shoebox apartments. What city did you have, Marianne?
1 second, sorry. I had it was some random town in New Hampshire.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Hey kids, here's some like really funny, weird kind of classist information. I've always found that if you look at somebody's zip code, right? And we live out here in California where they added zip codes later, which is why all of our zip codes start off with a 9. Like I live in 90039, but even in Sacramento, I lived in 95828. Yo, if you have a zip code and the first digit is 0, or even wilder, the first 2 digits are 0, typically this is like a back east, rich white people area. If your zip code starts with a 0, I bet it's on the East Coast, and I bet it's full of mansions. Yeah, man, you know that somebody is rich if their zip code starts off with a 0. I don't get it.
I finished the project, but my area wasn't that expensive.
It had to have been because it's in the top 100. It might not be expensive to where we live because we live in like the top 20. What town did you have?
Rye, New York.
Oh no, Rye, New York is full of mansions too. That's part of like rich upstate New York.
Maybe it's because we only had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, so it was not as big.
That is why. Yeah. So the deal is, the thing that pulls the average way up is the fact that in Rye, New York, there are probably a whole bunch of like 10-bedroom, 8-bathroom spots, like literal mansions and estates and stuff. You're right. It's not that high because I had all of you guys look in the similar size scale just so that it would be easily comparable. Anyway, I think that takes us to time. Like I said, you guys don't have class tomorrow because I have to take an 8-hour exam to hopefully graduate with a master's degree. I don't know. We'll see. And so since that test starts 24 hours from now, I'll already be wrapped up by the time that we would be doing this class normally. So you guys have today off. We'll take it to Friday. And then I won't take the mortgage homework. I'll shift it to being due over the weekend. I'll make it due Sunday so that you guys can ask me questions about it Friday and have the weekend to wrap it up. You all have a very nice day, and I'll see y'all on Friday.
Good
Thanks.
luck on your test.
Good
Good
luck.
luck
Thank
on
you.
your test. Yeah.
Hopefully I don't need it, but the well wishes are appreciated.
For sure.
Peace.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.